Hi everyone, I'm Naomi Human here at Quality Sewing and Vacuum at today's Tuesday How Do I live event. And today I'm going to be talking about the ScanNCut, which if you know me, you know how much I love the ScanNCut. I teach a lot of ScanNCut classes. I use the ScanNCut almost on a daily, and it can do amazing things. And my whole thing is put it to work, make your life easier. So today on the ScanNCut, I am going to go over some great benefits that are built into this device right here. So let's zoom in and let's start with the scanning feature. Now, a lot of people get the ScanNCut because they want to scan in patterns and cut out fabric. So if we push the scanning button, we have a couple options here. We have the direct cut, which means if we put a piece of fabric or material down, you're going to cut it out right away. The scan to cut data is more for if you have a pattern, you're going to scan that pattern in, edit it, and then you will put your fabric down after you remove the pattern. So what we're going to do first is let's do a direct cut. So I'm going to push direct cut, and then I'm going to push the ScanNCut machine. So now it's asking for me to load the mat. It's grayed out because my mat is not loaded. So now I'm going to take a low-tack mat because I found this little piece of paper just floating around in the back, and I'm just going to stick it on right here. And it doesn't have to be straight. Put it on crooked. Who cares? We're having fun. So then all I'm going to do is put this on and load it. Okay, usually just takes a minute, and then I'm going to push start. And it will ask you if your scanning position is in number 2, and that's just right over here on the side of the machine, and it is. So I'll push start. And this will only take a minute. It's gonna pull it in, scan it, and like I said, you know, you can do stickers, pictures like this, any patterns that you have. If you like to make doll clothes, or I've even seen people make the little airplanes. So there's a lot of options here. So if you look at the screen, you'll see the little cow and the dog footprint. If I push OK, it's then going to give me some options. I have some arrows here, and you'll notice you'll see these little lines here. So it's reading it as a cut. So we don't want that to cut. So we're just going to zoom in. So I'm just going to zoom in around one of the items. I don't want to cut out everything at this moment. So if I just zoom in on that dog paw print and click preview. And so I'm happy with that, and I'll push OK one more time. Now on this next page, it gives you a couple options. You can do an offset cut, which means you can push that cut line either out or in a little bit, or right here with the little rounded square and wiggly line square, it gives you another option. You could maybe put a circle around it or a square. So you have some options here. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top because I want it to actually go around my item, and click OK. And I'm going to move the offset. I'm just going to move it out a little bit. So I'm going to increase it, and you'll see when I cut it, there'll be a little bit of a white outline. And I'll push OK and OK. And then you'll see here's the little outline it's going to cut. And I'll push cut. And then I'm going to push start. And then we'll just wait. It says 1 minute, so 1 minute the most it's going to take to cut that little paw print out.
And Naomi, would the same thing apply if this was fabric rather than paper? Could you do this exact same thing?
Yes, so if you had fabric, say you wanted to fussy cut an image on a piece of fabric, you could scan it in and then shrink in around that item and then cut around that. So you could fussy cut fabric. The most important thing whenever you're scanning something in, you just want to make sure it's like you can see the outline. So you don't want something that's too blurry. You want, like, these have nice outlines. So as long as the fabric has a distinguished picture, you can cut it out. So I'm going to push OK, and then you'll see it's already coming up. And so remember, I did that offset, so I created this little white outline around it. If you don't want that, you can always shrink it in just a little bit so it cuts just on the inside of the black print. Okay. I'm going to unload my mat. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, people talk about cutting thicker items with their ScanNCut. And you can cut up to 3 millimeters thick. So today, it's not finished, but I started making this little tree, this 3D tree. So I just use a foam that I got from Michael's, and actually this is only 2 millimeters thick. So you could use something a little thicker. And all I'm gonna do is stick it to my mat, and we're just gonna pick a design. So let's pick something from pattern. So let's look and see what options we have here. So the first one is all the general shapes. And then we have different picture options, words, borders, fonts, and it goes on and on. And if you have the Disney version, you'll even have the Disney options. So I'm going to go to the one with the Eiffel Tower and the snowflake. And let's just do a star. And I'm going to go OK. And then one more OK. And right here, it's going to ask you if you like the size. And I do. And if you want to add more. So if I wanted to fill up the whole page with stars, I could increase how many stars I wanted. So I could cut a bunch out in one go. And then I'm going to click Set. So now it has my star. And let's pick up some foam. How about this blue? And I'm just going to grab my standard mat. And sorry, it's going to be loud. I'm going to rip it off. And like before, it's the standard tacky mat. So I'm just going to stick it down. And it's on there really good. And I'm just going to load it. And every now and then you get a mat that says, wait a second, I want to be a little bit of a pain. But it's okay, we'll work around it. See, this is why it's good to see, because not everyone, we all have moments. And if it's annoying me, then guess what? I'm going to switch to a different mat. So I've got my low tack mat, which will work just fine. And there we go. So talking about mats, if you're having issues with mats, let me point this out. Every now and then a corner gets bent or gets kind of wrinkled. What I like to do is, and maybe you can kind of see it here, it gets a little wrinkle. So what I do is I take some sandpaper or a nail file and I kind of smooth it out to kind of get rid of those bumps. Sand it on the back a little bit, make sure it's nice and straight. Just wipe it down with a baby wipe, and then it's usually good to go. So that's what I do when there's a mat that's kind of being a trouble child. There's always a way around it. So I've got my material, it's on here, and what I'm going to do is underneath Edit, there's this little scan button. If I push that and push Start, it will then scan my mat in so I can see where my material is, so I can make sure my design is placed accordingly, so I'm not cutting half on my material and half on the mat. And my mat's not super sticky, so let's see this. There we go. Live TV. It's great. Okay. So it's pretty far over here, so I'm going to scoot it kind of over here a little bit and down from the top so it's not right on the edge. Go down. There we go. And actually this foam is a little big for this piece, so let me turn it this way. And it's fine, I'm still on there. I'm going to push OK and select cut. And then if this is the first time you've cut foam, you can always do a test cut. Another thing to point out is my settings might look different than your settings, but that's okay. So as the blade, you've used it more, it'll slowly get dull. And so you can go use the wrench tool and you can adjust the pressure. For this, you want to make sure your half cut is off. And so it's off, that's what I want. I'm going to push start. We cross our fingers, right? And you'll notice it's doing a second pass. And that's because it is a thicker item, so typically it'll do 2 or 3 passes so that it's not just doing one cut that's gonna like gouge in and drag and pull it. So it's kind of doing baby cuts. So it's actually better because it'll save, it'll have your blade last longer.
So how did it know that it needed to do 3 cuts?
So if you look at the mat, you'll see that this is a little barcode. And what it does is it goes and it measures the barcode, and then it goes over and it measures the material. And then it knows the thickness to cut. So what it will do is it'll measure, start cutting, go back, measure again, and then it re-measures to see how much more depth that it needs to go. And there is our really big star. I don't think it'll fit our tree. But, you know, this gives you an idea. Like, it will cut fabric, cotton fabric, up to foam, balsa wood, and everything in between. And I do want to point out one other fabric that it will cut. So let me unload this mat. And so I've got the fabric mat, and I have some minky fabric, because I mean, if you watch So Fun, you know me, and I don't think I need to explain anymore. So this is Shannon 90-inch minky, and it's great because it doesn't have a lot of stretch. It only has a one-way stretch. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it onto my fabric mat. And yes, I know some of you are probably thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to make such a mess. But you know what? Yeah, there are going to be some little fibers, but I don't feel like it's going to be any more fibers than, honestly, cotton, because the cotton will leave like little strings behind, and this will leave the little fluffy. But if you use your alcohol-free baby wipes, it comes right off. So I'm just going to go back to home, push OK, go to my pattern. I'm just going to grab a shape. Let's just grab a circle. And I will tell you this, I had a class on Saturday, and almost everyone cut out minky on their ScanNCut, and they were very successful. And it's up to you if you want to put a fusible on the back or not. For today, I don't have a fusible. I'm going to just shrink it down a little in size so it fits on my minky, and go set. Okay.
And do you need to change your blade for a fabric, or do you use the same blade as you would for your foam?
Yeah, so the blade I'm going to use is the black standard blade. You do have the fabric blade, but this is only for cotton only. with nothing on the back. Also, you can use the rotary blade. And then it's good every now and then to take this off and check to make sure there's no left behind particles from anything you've cut. Okay, put that back in. Load my mat. And then we're going to do this one more time. We are going to scan it. So underneath edit, we're going to push the scan button and start. Okay. Okay, so now if you see, I've got my circle right here, and I'm just going to drag it over. And I'll show you one other great feature on this. Say you couldn't see that that circle very well, because maybe we're using like black fabric or dark purple, and so we're going to push the wrench tool and background. You have a darker, a light, and off. So if we go there, you can hopefully, maybe you can see that better. So you can adjust that. That's really easy to do. So then I'm going to push OK, select, cut. And I will say a tip, if you're cutting something that has stretch, you can always turn the speed down. So then it's going to take a little bit longer, but at least it won't pull through the fabric. So then we're going to push start. Okay. And then there's my little minky circle. So you can cut pretty much, I mean, if it fits in here, you can cut it. So we're going to set that to the side. And while I have your attention, I want to show you something on my phone. So a lot of you probably haven't used it, or some of you probably use it. It's Canvas Workspace, and it's the Brother software, which is really great to use because you can scan all your patterns in. You can edit them on your computer. I'm just showing you on my cell phone because it was easier. They have all of these really awesome free patterns that they give you, and it comes with little video instructions and a PDF instruction. So I mean, it's amazing. And like I said, the 3D Christmas tree was on here. They have everything from paper to vinyl to fabric projects. So it's all free. All you have to do is go to canvasworkspace.brother.com and create a free login, and you can connect this to your ScanNCut, and you can send all your stuff wirelessly on the DX machines. Okay. And then something else I want to go over, because we've had a lot of interest in this, is paper. So we have people who like to make little boxes or envelopes with cards. So I'm going to cut out some paper. So I'm going to grab my low-tack mat, because we don't want that paper sticking to the mat and becoming its best friend.
I think someone's asking, the question was, can you please share again? I think they're asking for the URL for the workspace.
Oh, yes.
So how to get there. And we'll also drop it into the comments as well. But if you could repeat it one more time, that'd be great.
Yeah, so to get onto Canvas, to create the Canvas login, it's canvasworkspace.brother.com, and we'll make sure to put it in the comments. And it's completely free. I highly recommend it. And you can register your machine. So then if you updates, notifications will come. There's lots of great like I said, lots of great projects, lots of, it's really easy to edit because sometimes you don't want to edit on your little screen and you can bring it to your computer and you can delete things or add things. Okay, so I've got a piece of paper and it's just regular cardstock 12 by 12. And I'm going to stick it down to my low tack mat. But first I'm going to go to home, and I'm going to grab my design. So let's go to patterns. And then if you go to the Eiffel Tower one and you scroll down, right here are envelopes. And so my tip my recommendation with envelopes, after you've cut one out, before you cut out the insert piece, measure from here to here and make sure that will fit inside, because these three are all the same size, but these get a little bit bigger. The inserts, I think they're a little bit bigger, so you do downsize them a little bit. But yeah, so just as you're cutting, just mental note, make sure that size will fit this size. Okay, so we are going to cut out this one. And right now it says the size, so if you wanted to make it bigger, you could. If you wanted to make more, you could. But we're just going to do one. And now it has my design. And it's probably hard to see, but it has the outline, and then it has all the little, where it helps you fold it. I lost my train of thought. The dash lines, so that you can fold it easier. Okay. So we're going to take our material. We're going to load the mat. Now it's up to you if you want to scan it in. You can scan it in, but this is covering my whole item just for, class purposes. I'm going to scan it so you can see it and go start.
So Robin had said that she attended class, she enjoyed it, you guys were busy the entire time, and we've had a couple different comments say that they were not able to attend and they really hope that they have another opportunity to attend that class with you.
So we are having the all-day ScanNCut class again. We're having it in Silverdale on August 13th, and we're also having it in Puyallup. And I think we're looking at September 10th. If there's still more interest, then we will definitely throw another date on the calendar. And so just kind of let us know where you would like to take the class, because we offered it here in Tukwila and we also offered it in Mount Vernon. So just let us know in the comments. And if there's any other classes you'd like to see, any projects, just put it in the comments. Okay. So then I've got my item here. I am going to cross my fingers because my mat's not super sticky. Sometimes I like to stick tape in the corners. That'll help. But we're just going to do it because that's how I roll. So we're going to push OK and select cut. And then you'll see everything stays the same. My half cut's off. I'm not going to do a test cut, but I am going to push start. And here we go.
Oh wow, so lots of comments. Somebody's saying they need the class in Olympia. Esther is saying she'd like to do embossing and foil with the ScanNCut.
Okay.
And Robin says she wants to take it again, but will there be new projects?
So yes, okay, so yes, we will be in Olympia. I don't know if it's on the calendar yet, but we did pick the date, September 10th. So if you just want to check in with Olympia, you could always let them know. And they can put you on the list for when that comes up. The embossing and foiling, what area are you at? Let me know what store you go to. but I have done the embossing and foiling, but I am up Bellingham and Mount Vernon. But I do like to come down occasionally to the southern stores and teach, so just let me know. And then, yes, there will be more Brother ScanNCut classes, all-day classes coming up in the near future with new projects. I'm looking at one that could just be an all-day ScanNCut fabric-only class, and there's a few other things. So yes, there will be more coming out.
Yeah, for the embossing, she said in Olympia.
Olympia, okay. Yeah, and actually, I'm thinking about talking to them and seeing if I can teach a couple classes on that Friday before the all-day class. So just keep checking in and we're gonna get more classes out to you. And we do have Zoom classes if you're interested. I've been putting those out too. So as this cuts it, this design, it cuts all the little dashes first and then it'll go around and do the outline, which is kind of nice. I find that if it does it this way, it keeps it more stable. It says it has 1 minute. Okay, so I'll peel that up. Okay, and then what I'll do is keep this down. You'll see the little dash lines there, hopefully. And all you do is you fold them. So you just put some glue here and here, and then you have the top. And so that, and here's one already glued down, this design. And then here's this fun one. And I did cut out one little insert.
So Fran was wanting to know if this was going to be available to view later, and it is. So whether they came in late or they leave early, this will be available on our Facebook page and also on YouTube. So if they've missed any part of this, they can definitely go back and rewatch it.
Yes. Yeah, the best thing about it being available later is if you want to follow along and do it, you can pause it. Which is great. You know, that's what we do. I mean, we have YouTube, Facebook, we watch things, we go along, we pause, we catch up, and then we watch, and then we pause. And so this was some of the paper items. And now I want to go over, we're going to kind of jump back to fabric again. And so if I take a piece of fabric, I just have some random fabric, and I put some steam and seam on the back. And I'm going to peel that off.
So real quick, Naomi, what weight paper did you use for your envelopes?
So let's see, I have some. It's 65 pound, and I just get it from Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Joann's.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've got my fabric with my fusible. So if you're doing applique, I'll put this on my fabric mat with the fusible side down. I know some people say, are you afraid that the fusible is going to come off? But usually if I have it ironed on correctly and like it's on there and it's not coming off, then I don't have a problem. So let's go on here. And let's go back to home. Push OK. And let's go to patterns again. And we'll go to the Eiffel Tower. And what should we do? Let's see what's in the Dolphin one. I want to do a single color. So let's find something. Looking at my fabric. Let's just do the Dolphin. How about? Okay, so I've got my Dolphin. I'm good with that size. I have a nice 10 by 10 piece. Push OK and OK. I only want to cut out one and set. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my mat and I'm going to load it. Now, since this cotton fabric has the fusible, we will not use the fabric blade. We're going to use our black blade, which I'm going to give it one more look because that minky, you know, I want to make sure there's no minky in there. And then I'm going to scan. So I'll push my scan button and start. Okay. And now you can see there's my Dolphin. There's my fabric. You know, let's go back and see if we push the wrench tool. Let's see what the background looks like. See, now it's too dark. You can't see it. But it's good just to play around with that. Okay, so I've got my Dolphin. I'm just going to place him right there. And I'm going to go, okay, select, and cut. And just a reminder, if you're cutting fabric and you're having issues with the fabric pulling, try lowering your speed down. Really, the speed can be a key part of things. Sometimes, like paper, you can usually whip through. If it's something super detailed, you want to lower that speed down. Delicate items, lower the speed down. The foam did fine. I've done the foam, paper, felt at faster speeds. So now I'm going to hit start. Okay. Okay, so there is my outline, and I'm getting out my little tools, get my little weeding tool here to kind of help me get this corner up. And you kind of want to, you know, depending on the item, you don't want to pull too quick, you don't want to distort the fabric, but there is my little Dolphin. And it is all ready to be fused down, and you can either blanket stitch, or if this was an embroidery design that you had and you're going to machine embroider it, you would already have your item cut out and you wouldn't have to use your scissors and cut around it and try to, you know, get rid of all those, get into those corners. So this is a great way for machine embroidery or just blanket stitch embroidery on your sewing machine. Okay, and then how about I show you one more fabric? And this fabric is felt. So when cutting felt, I like to cut felt that is more of a craft felt. It's stiffer. It's what I call user-friendly. And so I'm just going to stick it on here, push OK, and I'm going to go back to the home, and let's pick another pattern. And we will just go to the Eiffel Tower, snowflake. Let's just do a flower. Let's do that. Okay, okay, set. If you have a ScanNCut, you're gonna push okay a lot. And then it's a smaller piece, so I'm gonna scan it in and start.
So Laurel asked a question, if she wants to do a quilt label on fabric, are the inks going to last through washing if heat set?
Yes. So if I was doing a label and I'm drawing it on, first I would make sure, do you have the universal pen holder? Because I would use the universal pen holder and then use the appropriate marker that can withstand it. I probably wouldn't use the little markers that come with that's more for paper drawing. But as long as you're using the right marker, yeah, and you heat set it, it'll last. So I've got my flower, and let's make it a little darker. Let's see, okay. So I've got my flower there. I'm push OK, select, cut, and start. Now I know I'm not covering a lot of things today. I mean, there's still so much more to cover. So if there's other things you'd like to see, just put it in the comments. I won't be able to do it today, but maybe for a future one, I can then know what areas to touch on.
So Laurel asked, so would a regular marker work? Back to the
Right, yeah. So the question is fabric markers. So I would look for a fabric marker. I think if you look at like Joann's or Michael's and you're over in the in the I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's like more the dye material, where you can not tie dye, but you can dye your fabric. Over there, there's markers, and I believe those are specific fabric markers that are for drawing and for touch-up screen printing type ink. So I would look for a specific fabric marker. I would avoid anything like a Crayola type marker, a Sharpie type marker might work, but my only concern would be the bleeding. So you just want to make sure to use the appropriate fabric marker.
Nancy wants to know, will it cut Kimberbell felt?
Yes, this will cut the Kimberbell felt. Okay, let's see. And there is your flower. You could cut out several flowers, different colors, and you could mix the centers. Okay. Are there any other questions?
Would you use fabric rather than Sharpie on the faux leather like you did on Saturday?
With the faux leather, I would probably just use Sharpie, because with the faux leather, you're not gonna have the bleeding as much. When I think of like cotton fabric and all the little strands, I see it bleeding and spreading out. But with the faux leather we used on Saturday, a Sharpie would do just fine. But also make sure that you have the right universal holder, because there's a couple out there. A lot of them, I don't know if I have one here, will only take like a skinnier Sharpie marker. So just make sure when you go in to get markers, maybe take your holder with you and make sure it's gonna fit, so you're not out money.
Deborah asked, should we put anything over felt before we cut it?
Nope. I mean, unless you want to fuse it down to something, you can put a fusible on the back, but I just cut the felt that came right out of the package with nothing on it. And like I said, this is a little stiffer. If you're going to use like a Joann's that's a little more not as stiff, then I usually recommend doing a stabilizer on the back, or Terrial Magic, spray it down, because that one tends to stretch. Or use your rotary blade, because the rotary blade has no problems with cutting stretchy material.
All right, that's all the questions.
Okay, awesome. Well, I just want to thank you all for coming today. And if you have any more questions, please put them in the comments. We will be back next Tuesday with the How Do I, and I'm not sure exactly what it'll be, but it will be a surprise. So check in next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thank you all. Take care.